Well, last week I was really prepared from the gate. I had the music already picked out and sent prior to us recording, so I knew how to quip in, but I don't know what the music is going to sound like this time.
We haven't even clicked yet.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's okay. You're
just so ready.
I decided to try to bake chicken without seasoning it today initially, and then I had to work the seasoning into the barbecue sauce. So that was
let's give each other the clap.
3, 2, 1.
So now the things that I say will be heard on the episode.
I mean, presumably.
No,
you're just gonna edit my track out.
No, I'll probably do that. Like, you're silent, says that. Break, play.
Okay, leave all this in. It's super meta.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we've hidden anything from them before.
No, I was going to say that it was nice going in with an idea of what the music was going to sound like. And I think I had this idea where I get all my best ideas while I was taking a shit.
Oh, I thought when you were stoned or something.
No, actually, I haven't smoked weed in probably a month, or almost a month.
Edibles?
Nope, nothing. Just
he hasn't eaten in a month either.
Look at him. I haven't.
He's wasting away.
I am.
Oh my goodness.
Like a desiccated corpse.
Yes. Like my ex-girlfriend.
I'm so turned on right now. I don't know how to respond.
No, I think I'm going to ask Mr. Wayne from Twin Ponies to whip us up permanent intro music.
Ooh.
It's a little idea that I have. He has a project on the side. It's just a bunch of electronic blips and bloops. And he goes under DJ Sneaky Snake.
I thought it would have been Side Pony.
Ooh, that's good. Ooh. But now this isn't what it's gonna be. But he makes all the beats is how he pitched DJ Sneaky Snake to me. He makes them all while he's taking a shit. So he does it on his phone for the most part.
So he's Stan's dad, basically.
Basically, but he sent me a couple clips of new things that he's working on, just like electronic stuff, and it's really nice. Like it sounds very like gamery, Zelda bit-esque.
Cool.
So I think I might reach out and see if I can buy him a 6-pack or something in exchange for using his intro song in perpetuity.
You can always offer him dat mouth.
No one wants this mouth.
Dat mouth. You gave me a really brilliant Sigourney segue, but before we get to that, by the Rowbotham, behold. It's the Disinformed podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm John.
And I'm Michael.
And we welcome you back to this earth that's not flat.
Yeah, go ahead.
I purchased something that we have been teasing on this glorious little podcast for ages and ages. I think up to like episode 3 or 4.
They can't see it. Wait. You got a squatty potty.
Yes.
Oh my god,
shit.
I'm so good.
So Melissa has elected to get me so her birthday's coming up. Our anniversary happens to be right around her birthday. So she decided to buy anniversary gifts for me. Aww. So my retort, since I had already bought birthday presents, was, I'll get us something that is for the both of us. It's kind of a home item. And I didn't tell her what it was. I said it's going to be coming in 2 pieces. And so just prepare for them. And the first one that arrived was the poopery.
Is it the thing you squirt into the toilet?
Yes.
The guy,
so
the unicorn?
Cover the scent.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, and then the tiered squatty potty. Just on the off chance you ever need to get that extra couple inches in there, I got both the 7 and then the additional 2 inches.
And?
I have been shitting slick like whale coming an ice flow. It has been just absolute elation from a rectal perspective, and I don't know, I can't thank you enough for recommending. You
are very, very welcome, and I will say that it was such a strange concept to start caring about my rectal future. Mm-hmm. To the point, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. Okay.
I was going to say, though, before you get on that, no one asked me how the reception was for this being an anniversary present.
Oh, I just thought that,
I thought you appreciated it.
She did not like it.
It was a beautiful metaphor, and I explained it as thus that where we have an entire world that is just full of shit, at the very least, we because of one another, can shit comfortably.
That's beautiful. It's modern romance.
Love it.
Yes, that's what I felt. John, continue.
Did she cry?
From the butthole, yes.
because you guys ate at Wingstop again?
Shitty tears.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so I was saying caring about my rectal future, and it reminded me of a game story. So I harassed everyone to get Modern Warfare, and side note, I did download World War II, so I'll jump on that soon. But Logan, our bassist, is the only one who actually like dived into Modern Warfare.
Mm-hmm.
So he cut my hair during the quarantine at some point, and when I was there, we played Modern Warfare afterwards, or like we're sitting on the couch drinking a beer, and he was playing Call of Duty. And you know the sights, like you can upgrade the different sights to put on top, and the one with the green dot, red dot, and the name of that is a reticle.
Yes.
Reticle.
Mm-hmm.
I had been calling it a rectal because I was not paying attention and reading. So I was like,
it's also a hole. I mean, it's reasonable.
It's like Logan, like you should do this challenge or blah blah blah, because then you can unlock that rectal. And he goes, "You mean that fucking reticle?" And
I mean,
you know that
theoretically,
you know that meme of the guy's like knees like shaking, like the "I'm shook" meme, like that was legitimately me. Like if I could have killed myself immediately in that moment, it would have been over.
the world made no sense anymore.
No,
It's
Life
not
is
a
a
rectal.
lie.
That rectal scope that I'm killing everybody with.
How are you guys doing?
I mean, I haven't killed anyone in the last 24 hours.
Same.
24. That's a streak.
Yeah, I read about a lot of people getting killed. So I have now officially completely devoted myself to the fever because I
The Bieber
completed. It's not the beaver fever. No, wait for After Dark. I have something it's a tease I'm going to give you here to try to drive folks to the After Dark,
Ooh.
because I am essentially Nostradamus.
What?
Okay.
I have managed to have a prescient moment and predicted something that it's earth-shattering.
Well, don't
and it
break
relates
your... Sorry.
it relates to John and myself and a dream. So get
Okay.
ready.
Well,
All right. Oh, I was going to say don't break your arm jerking yourself off, but...
I never have, and I never will.
that's
It
a
doesn't
spirit.
take that much energy. It really doesn't.
But you said you've been giving yourself to the old fever?
I completed Salem's Lot in essentially a day and a half.
Okay.
Nice.
You have succumbed.
Yes, I am fully embedded in the king fever.
I mean, what else are we going to do, you know? Oh, yeah. Oh, you showed me that you had the It shirt, but I didn't see that you had that.
Yes,
It's a
I got
another teaser for the Disinformed After Dark, because they'll
Yes.
actually be able to see the shirt since we're not
Exactly.
using video right now.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
technically we are.
It's a
but
brilliant Shining, the Shining shirt.
yes.
And he also sent me a picture of him wearing the It shirt from Stephen King, and they're both, if I'm not mistaken, the original cover
yes.
is the artwork. So
Old school
pretty
covers.
cool. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. I had to track it down at my mom's place, but I have an original copy of it, like that cover. I just didn't know
As
what I
do
had.
It's just falling to pieces.
As it would.
Yes.
Well,
I have an interesting bit to start, since we are going to get into Michael's topic, I assume.
yes.
Yeah.
But I figured, why do we limit all of our fun hypotheticals and all the things where, we have to be a little bit more tame to the YouTube, when I can give you a beautiful dyed-in-the-wool would you rather at this very moment that I have a feeling is going to, cause a few ripples.
Can I fuck them
Speaking
both?
of Rectal Rangers.
Go Rectal Rangers? Is that the episode
Indeed.
title?
Go Gadget Copter. So, you are being held hostage. There is a large caliber rifle directly aimed at your head, and you are given the choice of whether or not this person will dispatch you if you do not complete these requested tasks, or you work yourself up in a masturbatory fashion to completion, viewing either one of these two films. The first is a 1970s produced elder porn entitled Lazy Matin.
Okay.
Okay.
And essentially, to paint the picture, I'm assuming is going to involve a lot of trying to pull adult diapers off of one another, complaining about their backs, hips, etc., not necessarily being able to do much of anything, and then just attempting to arouse one another for at least 4 hours.
Disgusting joke that ends with, have you ever tried to peel the cheese off a grilled cheese sandwich, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all that I can think of. Michael, don't even ask. We're not doing this.
No, we're not. My
Why
first
do
thought
you
also,
tease and yet take it away from me?
as I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking of like the old man who's getting evaluated in the hospital in The Hangover. He's just shapes. He looks like Mr. Peanut, yeah. And then the other is a video called Summerton in the Titty, which is the greatest hits of Norm's, recorded career thus far.
Okay.
Now, you must work yourself from arousal to full ejaculatory completion while watching either one of those films, or you're going to be shot. Which video do you choose?
Oh, which video do I choose?
You have to watch one of them.
And
while watching them, become aroused and ejaculate.
Okay, so some qualifiers here.
Yes.
Can you pause the video?
No.
Do I have to, am I like Clockwork Orange forced to have my eyes open the entire time?
You cannot imagine other things. Essentially, you have to watch this, and you have to manage to keep yourself aroused and get to completion while watching some of the most disgusting things you've ever seen in your life.
Do I have to finish by the time the video ends?
Yes.
It's basically a beat the cock challenge here, that as the clock is winding down, you better get something out of that thing or he's going to shoot you in the head.
Okay.
Now, death is also an option here, kids. You can just elect to get shot, which at this point, I would say I'm contemplating.
No, I'm gonna do elder porn, or the elder.
Yeah,
one.
I don't really. I haven't watched Noah's greatest hits, so I don't know what his stuff.
What the fuck are you talking about,
Norm?
young man?
Whatever.
Norm. What the hell's wrong with you, Michael?
I don't know.
Why do you botch everybody's names?
Even your own.
I spent 3 hours writing more of the My Immortal shit down, okay? So everyone's name is just spelled weird to me.
I'm starting to believe you actually authored that book by the number of times that you ham-fistedly, mangle someone's monikers.
Like I said, if I did, I would admit it, because I would definitely take credit for that piece of work.
What's the shook line? Is it shook?
This had me fucking shook.
You gave me a fucking shook.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yes.
So I'll tell you why that I choose the elder elder love, or whatever you called it.
Lazy Matin.
Lazy
elder
Matin.
And it's going to have, the Bow Chickasaw music. So you got to imagine two older
Oh, I forgot to ask another qualifier, but I imagine that it doesn't matter. Do I have to watch it with sound, or can I watch it without sound?
He might let you, take the sound down for a bit, but you have a limited amount of time, so you get to pause in 30-second increments.
Okay, so we never established, what kind of elderly people were watching. I mean, you said The Hangover and stuff, but we didn't talk about the other half. Uh-huh. So, I don't know. I mean, there's some foxy older ladies out there.
There are GILFs.
There are definitely GILFs. We also
They are not in this film.
Oh.
Okay, in which case I have a safety method, which is I have watched plenty of things that I've been disinterested in to the tune where, I know that I can stare at a certain corner of each, at any point of the TV, and I can just zone out completely. And I have enough in the spank bank that I can make it work. I mean, the only thing that's really standing in the way of my survival is whether or not I can get it up in front of a gun. But
you're all like, I've been training for this moment my whole life.
It's a reasonable thing to be concerned about.
But I feel like, the mother that can lift the car after a child, the adrenaline moment. I feel like in that moment that I think I could pull through if I knew that it was either or masturbate to completion in front of a potential murder. The
difficult thing is anybody who has attempted to put on a condom under pressure knows just how infrequently your penis will cooperate with you when you need it to. So I don't hold, like you said, I don't hold out a lot of hope for as the gun gets just jabbed against the base of my skull that I'm like, this isn't happening. You're just gonna have to shoot me because I don't think this is gonna work.
What if he got really insecure about it? He's like, is this happen to you a lot? Is it me?
So we have a very insecure killer. This is the worst terrorist in history. Also, these are the only 2 porn videos that he owns, so he can't give you any alternatives.
Turns out it's not even a man, it's just my ex-girlfriend. It's just Darth Clitoris.
Uh-huh, yes.
Wearing an FDR mask.
and a MAGA hat.
Done. That's all I need.
I bet I could almost guarantee that she does support.
Michael, you've not weighed in here.
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, I thought no, I choose the elder. I don't know what the guy, the
Norm
titty piggy.
Somerton.
Yeah, sure. Norm, Noah, Nova, Norva.
Noah,
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Mora. I don't know what Norm's I aside from the one clip that you described to me where the poutine incident is all I'm going to call it. I don't know what he does, and at least I assume that the elder maiden is going to be more traditional.
I just described for you. These are extremely old people, and this was a film made in the 1970s. So there's going to be
brink of death.
There's going to be bush. There's going to be adult diapers that need to be removed. They are not going to be able to actually work to easily, coerce themselves into a position where they're basically going to be adjusting for position with glamour shots going, I can't, oh, my hip, hold on, oh, I can't breathe now. You're standing on my breast. Oh, I'm sorry. And so basically,
my son fought in the war.
This feels like the war. Quick, in the foxhole. So yeah, this is not going to be sexy. There is no conceivable way. You're basically just going to watch old woman's breasts that are basically resting on her knees, sliding on and off as she's trying to get this man turgid.
I think
and prone for insertion.
What Shane's trying to pitch to you, Michael, is this, essentially the jigsaw killer is standing in front of you. And these are one of his 2 traps. There's not going to be any real pleasure from it, except for the pleasure he gets watching you squirm and come.
Yes, I understand that, but I feel like they're at least going to try traditional stuff. I don't know what Norm does other than the poutine incident.
Probably gets you rock hard for one.
He has
the titty piggy,
the tit cups.
Yes.
And now, John, could you tell us during the tit cup segment, was it focused on his face, or was he specifically just removing the cups from his body?
Oh, it's tits up.
Yeah.
So you see his whole face because he has a forehead tattoo that says pig, and then he's fully tatted out. So you could, I don't know.
I'm saying is if Michael really wants to try hard enough, and if we're striving for having something that has at least a semblance of the female form, if he's just working the cups at a point in the video, you can time yourself out to be like, I'm just going to stare at these mock tits and try to forget that that's an ugly old man that's got them, and run. It's the only thing. That was my if there's any port in the storm that can get you. It's a real Sophie's choice that we've got here, gentlemen.
Of course. I'm still...
Steven has stopped listening.
I'm still going to go with the elder.
Okay.
Yeah.
So cottage cheese and desperation.
Yeah, Shane, are you also joining us on the grandma compilation?
No.
You're going to go for Norm?
No, I'm going to tell him to shoot me in the fucking head is what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to tap out. Cause,
I kept forgetting that death was an option.
Yeah, death is an option. I think I might get 5 minutes into this really desperately trying to find something to get me even remotely coaxed, and I'll probably just kill myself in frustration. Just do
isn't that the plan anyway?
I've been working up to it for 39 years, so I suppose we might get there eventually.
Ooh-wee.
Well, there you are. That's one that was definitely never going to make it onto YouTube. So.
Again, I'm so curious, and I'm too lazy to watch the videos that Michael told me to go watch on how YouTube monetizes things. Because again, I was watching your Mom's House episode.
It's like a 4-hour episode. I wouldn't bother.
I was watching the beginning of the episode of Your Mom's House today, and within the first 10 minutes, their producer chimes in, and they're like, "Hey guys, you've talked," because they're talking about a clip from the prior week. And he's like, "At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we've already been flagged to be demonetized because of how many times they talked about coming and poop within a certain vicinity of each other." I think like something very weird, but at the same time, I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." So then by the end of it, he was like, "Just swing for the fences. We're already flagged by this point." So.
Yeah, without question. I have a feeling there are certain instances, there are some individuals that remove content, so they post in multiple places, and then they'll just cut segments that they know might be problematic for YouTube. I know certain podcasts I listen to do that. And then others maybe just attempt to squirrel it away. If you've got something like a Rogan podcast where it's 4 hours worth of talking, they might just be like, okay, let's try to keep it somewhat light here, first 20, 30 minutes, and hope they get past. But with us being sort of bite-sized there, it makes it much easier to find fodder that might be offensive and reportable.
That's fair.
But yeah, who knows? We're trying here. It's not like we're really getting the statistical support that's going to get us just a wealth of currency here.
Yeah, the main thing is just trying to get enough people so that we can justify starting a Patreon, because honestly, a lot of the people that I watch, they get demonetized for the stupidest things, and so Patreon is really how they live. So
or OnlyFans.
In these trying times.
I was going to say, I'm officially unemployed again, so...
Oh, yes. I asked you, and you said you were going to save it for recording, so please do tell.
All right, well, once upon a time... No, so in the area that I work, it's like would you call it like a strip mall, almost?
Yeah, it is. No, it is a strip mall, yes.
Okay, strip mall is just a chain of tiny stores?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's really weird to ask that question, but it's like one of those, like, I've never had to think about how to define a strip mall before.
It's a very fair point. It's you have a large amount of businesses involving a coffee shop, a tire store, a Walgreens, ice cream, etc.
Our strip mall is bookended on one end by a coffee shop, which I'm not going to name, but all you need to know is that the coffee is abysmal. And on the other end, we are tagged off by a discount tire. And I don't know, dates don't mean shit right now, but essentially, like, the discount tire crew, they frequent our store when they're done, and since we have been on premise with restrictions and safety precautions, they have been coming in to enjoy some drinks after they've concluded their day of work, and apparently one of their staff has tested positive for COVID. And we know the last time that he was in the store was on Sunday, 6/14. So the business owner is just taking a safety precaution to shut down for a few weeks, get everything deep cleaned inside of there. And then also all of us are getting or have been or will be tested before coming back. So I did my test yesterday. And, much like my high school career, I'm hoping to fail.
As you do.
Also, did they point out during the swabbing, though, that there were parts of you that were in danger of falling off?
No, so I think I'm okay.
Okay.
I will go ahead and say, too, and it's only because I had to go through this dumbness. I don't know where I saw it or why it's hyped up, but people make the nasal test to be horrific. Like, I don't know, I'd never heard a positive thing, and I know it's not something it's not like you're like, oh, I did this test, it was a breeze, it was so nice. But they were making it sound like you were poking yourself up to the fucking brain, like lobotomizing yourself almost. And that's not the case. So I feel like this is one place where I can just like flat out say it, that it's not like you put it in there like about an inch. Which if you've, I don't know.
I've stuffed worse things up my nose that like further than that. So,
well, we'll unpack that later. But no, but seriously, the test was so easy breezy, and I did it through CVS. They have drive-ups right now, which luckily for us in Arizona, it's cost zero. Like, that's provided by the state, and federal funding has not been pulled for us yet, which is a crock of fucking shit.
Oh, I told Shane before you showed up, before we went on air, but I had a whole rant about that. But I decided I got it off my chest when I wrote it down, so I'm not going to do it. But
And he's also been semi-sated by the talk of drive-through nasal penetration. So he's
right.
good.
It's how I get off.
But it's really weird to do the stop and go. And I heard probably like midway through the quarantining of the idea of intermittent social distancing and like stop and go kind of mentality that could happen in the future.
Are you talking about social tracing?
Social distancing, or as far it was contextual to like when things get reeled in, and this is prior to a vaccine, where it's the idea that when there are surges, i.e. what's happening right now, which we won't get into if it's a surge or not. When there are surges, soft closing back down to mitigate the spread, and then you open back up, and then just being prepared until there is a vaccine to keep doing that as needed on a case-by-case basis. And without being so boo-hoo, woe is me shit, like that's exactly what it feels like is happening to me at work, where I officially hit a stride where I was like, all right, and I've talked about it on every episode leading up, like, all right, I'm back in the swing. Like, it feels so great. Like, I almost punched myself in the face listening to the intro of last week now, where I'm like, oh, it feels so good to be back on a rhythm, back on a schedule, and now I have nothing. So I did something that Shane has mentioned to me a lot, and I always go, oh, that sounds really cool, and that sounds really nice, in order to keep myself as active as I was, so that
ritual sacrifice.
I was going to say running while jacking off.
Almost.
I can't do that.
Or walking, sorry.
Well, yeah, you chose the coward's way out. No, I went and bought a basketball for like $20, and then I still do my workouts every day, but I've 3 days in a row now, I've just gone down to the court for about like 35 minutes, and I get my steps in for the day, and also it's almost as much of a workout for me as my actual workout routine thing that I'm doing.
Nice.
So thanks for planting that seed. It finally erupted.
That's
Erupted. Basketball is amazing.
It's the only time any seed that I have planted has actually brought anything to fruition.
That you know.
I mean, there's not any pending litigation, so I don't have to worry about that right now.
Right.
Unless there's another bizarre singer-songwriter floating out there that I'm not aware of.
Ooh-wee.
That sounds like a story waiting to happen.
7 years young, plucking a ukulele, just going, damn it, Dad!
Wrong dad died.
Indeed.
Well, anyway, that's my soapbox.
Huh.
And a lovely one it is.
Oh, thank you.
Michael, tell us about the waters of your homeland, Muad'Dib.
I mean, they remember.
Thank what you God want, right? for that. Well, so what we do on this glorious little show here on a week-by-week basis, or at least in the continuing saga that is the Disinformed podcast, we are attempting to get back to on a weekly basis, presenting a topic for you, be it esoteric or obscure or random, though it may be. And in the course of explaining the intricacies of the topic, we will leaven in a little bit of a lie from time to time to kind of throw everyone off the scent. And the two co-hosts stay engaged and involved by, one, cracking horrible jokes, and two, attempting to ferret out the lies when they present themselves. And this week's topic is going to be brought to you by the ever-charismatic and enigmatic Mr. Michael.
And remember, if he mispronounces anything, it's his screen's fault, his computer's, or whether it be his computer or cell phone, or his mouse, or his mic.
I have never blamed... Sorry, it happened. I have never blamed my inability to pronounce words on other things.
There's a first time for everything.
Yes. No, I can't talk worth shit. I'll just say that, flat out. That's no one's fault but my own.
Good thing we have on a podcast.
I was going to say, we think we got like 46 or 47 episodes of proof at this point.
Yeah, guaranteed.
Exactly. That's why I let you guys talk.
The new official Disinformed drinking game is anytime Michael mispronounces something, you need to, take a shot.
Man, I need to go get my 40 ounce.
You're going to need more. You're going to need a keg. Something on tap here by the time we get done. And then if Michael has a strong seizure like he typically tends to do, which is he gets so flustered by trying to pronounce something that he has to do a hard reboot.
Waterfall.
That's finish your drink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
I will chug this 7.8% double dry hopped hazy IPA because I'm a hipster cunt. if that happens. And Michael, you said you're not censoring that word anymore.
Nope,
so we're not going to do it.
Hashtag Humboldt Strong over here is trying to keep us grounded.
Oh, geez. Well, so today's topic, what have you, I was going to talk about temporary autonomous zones with respect to the one that is in everyone's mind, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or also known as the Capitol Hill Occupied Protest. But as I found, to my dismay, about, what time is it? About 2.5 hours ago, if I recall, it's being shut down.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Ooh.
Yes, according to CNN, it is being shut down, or has been shut down.
This is in Seattle?
Yes, it's the Seattle 6 blocks, that sort of thing.
The one where they have the Umbrella Academy logo for the zone?
Yes.
Did you see
they
I had to
also-
You guys see
recall
the picture
that,
of
yes.
it? Yeah.
Yes.
They took over City Hall, right, as well? Or was it...
No, well, I don't think they did that specifically. I'm not 100% certain as to the layout of Seattle because I've only been there twice. But I do know it involves one of the precincts. I don't recall that off the top of my head because I had to delete a lot of that material because it was all outdated.
All right.
So, how were they disbanded, I hear you asking? Well, as is the case with a lot of things in this great country of ours, the police were mobilized and retook control of the area.
You can't see it, but I just rolled my eyes so hard they nearly popped out of my head.
Oh, yes. So
I just envision an aggressive game of like Plants vs. Zombies.
As far as I was aware, there are no casualties or anything like that, so that's good. Okay, so I want to
refocusing.
Yes, refocusing. I'm instead going to talk a little bit more about the person that coined the term, because he is a very interesting individual. And then I'll also talk about some other Taz's that you actually will know and recognize.
Ooh, the professional wrestler, Taz, who was made famous by his run in ECW.
Well, there goes my whole podcast episode. Thank you, and I'm Michael. Have a great day.
All right.
Also, Undertaker's retired. Did you see that, Shane?
I mean, I saw that like 9 months ago when it happened.
Oh, I was going to say, today's just turning into a shit show.
But, speaking of The Undertaker, it reminds me of this time back in 1998.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent because The Undertaker was involved. He threw Michael off the top of Hell in the Cell.
20 feet down?
Yes, straight through the announcer's table.
My God, I thought he was broken in half.
I was on color commentary that night, in case you didn't know.
Oh, I heard. I heard exactly
I
what
was
you
a
said.
very plucky 17-year-old, and I said, stop the damn match. The man has a family.
Indeed.
Granted, he didn't make it, but he has a family, goddammit. And one of them was thrown out of an apartment, and so they're having difficulties getting into a house. How all that made any sense in the course of a wrestling match commentary, I don't know. But at some point, Michael came up and he had a nose that had a tooth just embedded in a nostril, and that's how Michael first got penetrated, through the nose, and later turned into his personal kink.
I can almost see the comic, the comic slides on how this came to be.
And so I've just managed to pretzel all of the topics of today's discussions back in there.
Come full circle.
And again, don't break your arm jerking yourself off there, Mr.
Well, John,
Shane.
I can't break my arm because birds aren't real.
Birds are a lie. And now that we are officially off topic, I'm just kidding, Michael. Do your fucking topic.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I thought you were going to get into a rant about how birds aren't real, and I was going to let it happen. I was excited for that.
No, I see those little feathery cunts trying to spy on me when I'm playing basketball.
You're just embracing your newfound cunt freedom.
That's
to
a
just
cheap,
say that word.
Cheap use of the word pun.
Yeah,
That is a very cheap use.
And pun intended.
All right, who made the autonomous zones? Who coined the term?
To explain a little bit in detail, the idea of a Taz is to try out a different kind of society. You don't need to fall asleep that fast. It's short.
It's my narcolepsy. I can't control it. I'm sorry.
It's a condition. Don't be insensitive.
So the idea behind it is to try a different kind of society where there's no policing or formal authority, People operate on barters or gift exchanges, and in some cases ban regular currency. Though I have it from a source from the podcast that I actually heard this from, titled Worst Year Ever. One of the co-hosts actually toured the area, who he's a reporter himself, and he actually noted that a lot of the businesses that he talked to were actually experiencing a surge in business because a lot of people were flocking there and spending money to endorse that.
So why were people performing surgery in that area?
Huh?
Anyway, so
why are the surgeons taking any sort of business there? I don't understand, Michael.
You accused him of a cheap pun?
Yeah.
Actually, I accused you of a cheap pun, but
whatever.
J'accuse.
J'accusing.
So the idea, or well, the formalization of this idea was it was codified in a book called Taz, the Temporary Autonomous Zone, which was a book, like I said, written by the anarchist writer and poet Hakim Bey, otherwise known as, by his actual name, Peter Lamborn Wilson. It was published in 1991.
Bullshit.
No. True.
Hakim Bey.
Yes.
Also, how many lives
pseudonym,
do you get?
Oh, I have one. I just have 2 today, sir.
Okay.
Just 2.
Okay.
Simple.
Okay.
Lie 1.
Yes.
Birds.
Okay, so he has 3 lies.
Okay, yeah, fair. All right, you're right. 3 lies. Birds.
Okay, well, forgive
found
me.
it.
Pardon the interruption. Hakim Bey is
Yes.
a real
Is
boy.
his pseudonym. His real name is Peter Lamborn Wilson. Okay. Bey wrote that America is a police state. This was written in 1991. Okay, so take your mind back to back when that happened. I was born then, so I can't.
I was going to say, I was just coming out of a pussy.
Yes. And I was going into it. No, but anyway. Take me back. Let me in. So he...
This has become a very Freudian podcast here, gentlemen.
So Wilson wrote that America is a police state, so in order to experience true freedom, it's necessary to seize territory and establish communities outside of government authority. Doing such a thing, in his eyes, one can escape the structured system. Happens, take a shot. One can escape the structured system that stifles individual creativity. It is this chance at creativity that is real empowerment, and to him, the real draw of the temporary autonomous zone.
If you live through it.
Yes.
Right.
What is this individual creativity and natural freedom that Wilson seeks that requires no social hierarchy or political oversight, you may ask? So essentially, what is this creativity and natural freedoms that he wants? Well, according to a lot of people, most of them anarchist writers, specifically a Robert P. Helms, he wishes take another drink.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Michael.
Wilson wishes for this natural freedom so he can have sex with children.
Oh, wait, is that bullshit?
Nope, it is not.
Michael, I thought this was going to be not as dark as you just made it.
Oh, no.
Darkest timeline.
That's actually kind of what drew me into the subject, was the fact that this guy that
pedophilia drew you into the subject. All right.
Let me rephrase.
Hide your kids.
It is this guy and his interesting life experiences and proclivities that really drew me into this topic, because he is just really fucking weird. And that's not even saying that's because he's an anarchist. Like, I won't judge him for his political leanings. Everything else I will. So
Joaquin Bey, a.k.a. Sergeant Hatred.
Yeah.
Yes.
In search of his Princess Tiny Feet.
Aren't we all?
So, his political influences, as told by Wikipedia, he was born in 1945. The exact date is not given on Wikipedia, and I was not motivated to find it.
Fair.
He currently lives in New York. He does not work, saying that he has a family trust fund that enables him to live in a state that he terms independently poor.
What?
It is...
Huh?
That's his quote. He apparently gets enough money from a, quote, family trust fund such that he can live in a poor state, but he doesn't actually have to work. So he can live in, like, you know...
So he's comfortably destitute.
Yes, he's getting by, and he doesn't need to do much else other than that.
Oh, I think I saw a clip of him, actually.
Really?
On YouTube. Yeah, it's this dude, and he's pounding, there's like this big mound of dirt, and he's pounding his fist into it to make a hole, and then he fucks the hole. I think it's that guy. Or what we like to call a hobo flashlight. Or fleshlight, sorry. God damn it, it was so good in my head.
Yep. You still got 3/4 of it on the hit, so
Yeah,
I mean,
you
you made it on
you
base.
get a B for effort.
Yeah, it's not going to make the Netflix special, but
And
It
it
is
smells like dirt fucked by a hobo.
So
One
anyway.
of my favorite Patton Oswalt quotes.
Oh my goodness.
so anyway, this guy who was
also-
fucking a mound of dirt.
Yes. Also, I did lie. I miscounted. There are 3 lies in here. One
So
was
what is it,
one was
Michael?
hidden.
So he's Mudcomer.
Sure. So it was thought that he got his money from stealing from the rich, getting with the whole anarchist.
Well, I mean, a
vibe
trust
there.
fund does essentially, in my mind, equate that. It's tantamount to robbing from the rich, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Why is it always folks that are like independently wealthy via someone else's concerted efforts that want to be anarchists? What is broad generalization? I know I'm making a joke, but
No, actually, and if you do want to read the article that this Robert P. Helms, who is an anarchist writer, wrote concerning Hakim Bey, he actually does mention that, where there are multiple people that he knows that have inherited wealth who are anarchists, but they typically use their wealth for, giving back. Like, my family may have benefited off of the struggle of other people's backs, but I'm going to help people and give back and use my wealth in a good way. He doesn't think that Hakim Bey does that, though. So I need to stop calling him by his pseudonym, Wilson.
Yeah.
just call him Sergeant Hatred.
Sure.
Yeah, we can go
work.
with Sergeant Hatred.
Okay. So he founded a religious anarchist movement that I will actually kind of describe in a little bit and say its influences, because there are a lot. So while he was in college studying classics, so he was a classics major, he met with an American jazz musician. I had his name in a previous thing.
Tiny Boop Squiggly.
No.
Well, he played all the notes.
I'll tell you that this part is true. I can't remember the jazz musician's name, but he was part of it.
Ernie
They founded...
Fauntleroy, I believe.
Sure.
Yes.
No, it's Paul Pufano. God damn it.
They founded a religious movement called the Moorish Orthodox Church of America.
Moorish?
Moorish?
Moorish. Moorish.
We know what Moorish is because we like the same bad movie.
Moorish.
Which I think actually, didn't that come out in
92. Close. Yes. Right around.
What
It might
movie
have been
is this?
91. Let's double check. Let me fact check.
So Shane and I really, really, we've bonded over this very strange Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner.
1991.
Okay.
You
okay.
are right
Then
on top
Moorish,
of it.
So
Moorish
there's
is the exact idea that you're thinking of, as in from Morocco, Northern Africa, south of
Yes.
Spain, that sort of thing. Yes.
Yeah, they're asking Morgan Freeman.
It's the gentleman is giving a rant as they're waiting for Robin to finish up with Maid Mary, and he goes, "Curse them Moors and Saracens! If it weren't for their ungodly ways, then Master Robin would have never had to go to that war. What manner of name is Azim? Irish? Cornish? Moorish." And he gets right up against his face when he says it, and the guy goes, So,
Beautiful.
That movie is
You're
fucking
welcome
gem.
for that.
it is. He and I will both just heap praise upon it frequently.
Yeah, you didn't know that by saying the word Moorish that you were going to trigger us so hard.
No, I didn't, but I like it. So the Moorish Orthodox Church of America is a syncretic, which I don't remember the definition of, non-exclusive and religious anarchist movement espousing a vast array of liturgical and devotional traditions over a theology Exactly. I a lot of big words. Yes,
You've made
and I
it
got them
through
all.
unscathed. I am absolutely gobsmacked, Michael.
So let me list all the different theologies that include teachings where they glean teachings from.
Okay.
So the first thing is Moorish science. Again, Moorish. It's an organization based on the premise that African Americans, as in all African Americans, are Moorish, as in from the Moroccan Empire south of Spain, by nationality and Islamic in faith, which is a little bit odd considering that a lot of them were also taken from Mali and eastern other parts of Africa. It's
Right.
not just Morocco.
Would you say that they live by a Moorish code?
Sure. I'm not buying it. Nope. Not biting. Nope. I refuse puns.
We're gonna breeze right past that one, ladies and gentlemen.
Nope.
So the next influence is the 5%ers, a movement that believes 10% of the people in the world know the truth of existence, and those elites and their agents opt to keep 85% of the world in ignorance and under their controlling thumb.
Bullshit.
True. As in, it's true. It's not bullshit.
Oh my god.
The remaining 5% are those who know the truth and are determined to enlighten the 85%.
Did I do Steiner math here and wind up? You said 5% and then 85% and then another 5%.
Plus 85 is
Oh,
95.
okay, I didn't hear the
plus
10%.
5.
All right, I got
It's like an algebra prompt.
Yes. Then Sufism, which is ancient. There are ancient religious orders that practice various
Sufism?
forms. Suf, S-U-F,
Soup.
ism. Sure, soupism. Let's just defend a bunch of people with that.
Hey,
Sufism.
No soup for you.
It's from an outsider's perspective who doesn't practice
Soup.
Islam. It seems analogous to Christian monastic orders. So they're like Christian monks. To me, it feels like it.
Okay.
Okay. And I've cut out a majority of these. And I also will say, just so you don't have to get any ideas, none of these are lies. So you don't even have to worry about it.
Go on.
Yes. I cut out a lot of them that seem to overlap. And now we have varying degrees of Oriental Orthodoxy, which is a type of Christianity that's based in the Middle East. If you've heard of Ethiopian Christianity, there you go. The League for Spiritual Discovery, which is a spiritual organization who strives for the legal use of LSD for the purpose of meditation and spiritual understanding.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna hurl bullshit at that one.
He said
I
none
just
of these are
said
bullshit.
none of them are bullshit.
I still gonna hurl bullshit on that one.
I heard the bullshit.
I'm a hurl bullshit. Hold on.
They actually did, because the League of Spiritual Discovery was active around the time this movement started. It was also read that Wilson would frequent them and also ingested large amounts of LSD in this time, which was the early 60s.
So why'd you start this? I'm going to be honest. I was tripping balls through all of it.
Honestly, yeah. Zoroastrianism, which is Zoroastrianism. It's an ancient Persian religion, essentially. So based in Iran. It's
okay. Rein this in for me. These are all the things that he believes in.
These are all the teachings that were gleaned and combined
Okay.
into one thing.
We'll give you the compression. This is Batman traveling the world, discovering his own ethos by being trained by a random slew of people.
I like it.
That's actually
We'll go with
that's
that.
actually a
that
good
helps
point.
me comprehend that a lot.
All right.
It has a lot of spiritual influences. Also, Taoism, because why not?
Or Taoism, depending upon your proper pronunciation.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Oh.
And actually, it's funny that you did mention that. I originally had it written in here that I removed. Oh, come on. I read it as phonetically.
You removed your toe?
Sure.
Okay.
But in his life, because I originally had a paragraph on his life experiences, he traveled around Asia, specifically like the Middle East and India and other places, learning a lot of this stuff, kind of like how the Beatles did that.
And hence where he developed his taste for young boys?
Yeah.
Actually, yes.
All right, well.
Partially. He did try and transcribe. He worked actually for the Iranian government before the Iranian Revolution in the 70s. transcribing ancient Persian text to English and all this other stuff. But according to the article that I read by the Mr. Helms, he also transcribed a couple of, what was it? It was like, "O Tribe That Loves Boys" or something like that. It was a poem or something. So, yes. So, going back to that awkward comment that I made earlier about how he wants to love children.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that is a deep cut.
you laugh.
I don't. I'm prepared.
Since this Robert P. Helms puts it more eloquently than I do, I will quote him.
Oh, get out of here.
The Brooklyn Rail, in the July to August 2004, it's a anarchist paper, I believe, has just published an interview of Peter Lamborn Wilson, also known as Hakim Bey, that gives the reader a misleading and incomplete picture of the subject. Wilson rightly became celebrated as a kind of urban prophet, the interviewer writes. It was an identity to add the others. Essentially, it was an identity to add the others he bears seamlessly and without contradiction. So, essentially, listing all the things he does: anarchist, poet, public intellectual, psychedelic explorer, artist, social critic, Sufi, mystic.
And kid porker.
The interviewer's special phrasing, "seamlessly and without contradiction," is where she begins unintentionally to mislead. I am writing to describe another unusual way in which Mr. Wilson has distinguished himself that may make a wrinkle or two in the average person's opinion. He is a public pedophile, intellectual of international reputation, and one who mixes anarchist ideology into his pedophile discourse. He goes on to describe Wilson's association with NAMBLA, which is
the North American Man-Boy Love Association.
You're right.
They give them boots and sandwiches.
Where NAMBLA would publish many of Wilson's poems that would feature very not safe for work or not safe for life content.
Also, we make jokes about this, but it's just to put a Band-Aid on how horrifyingly disgusting we find that kind of shit. So don't want to seem too callous here.
Yeah, there is absolutely no one who is endorsing pedophilia in this throng, I can assure you.
Yes. He, Mr. Helms, also includes one of Wilson's poems called "My Political Beliefs." I'm not going to recite it here. Do you want me to? I will.
How long is it?
If you really want me to. It's probably like 12, 14 lines. I will. I don't want to, but I will. It is very not safe for work. Not explicitly, but it is very not safe for life, actually.
I mean,
do you want me to?
It sounds like John's intrigued.
You know what? Yeah, I like not liking my life.
So, here is the poem that you want me to read. Bare-legged on his bicycle in the park.
Okay,
he rides
I'm
beneath.
good. I don't need it anymore. Oh god, there's this joke on a show. It's like he can tell whether or not he's going to publish a novel by the first sentence. I heard the first sentence.
I will read.
I
will read a safe statement. I will read a safe line. But essentially, like I said, this poem is called "My Political Beliefs." I don't want this to be just another poem about hopeless love. Pretend it's a manifesto instead. Down with school. Boys rule, okay? In the land of dreams, no governance exists. So, if the listeners really want to read this and subject yourself to that, the
link
article
in the show
is in
notes.
Yes. But yes, so...
Oh man, that was...
He pretty much goes on to show that Wilson, I can't even say that. Wilson is not very... he's very open about his beliefs in this regard, and that Mr. Helms accuses Wilson of using this sort of temporary autonomous zone idea where there's no political structures, essentially so that he can embrace his desires, So.
Oh, man.
moving on to the actual more lighthearted. Well, I'd say lighthearted in a way, but not really.
Just commit.
Moving on to a different thing, we're going to cover other temporary autonomous zones. So even though the concept of a TAS was codified by Mr. I want to be free of political structures so I can exercise my perversions without being arrested, none of the TAS that I read about had freely exercised this sort of thing. Fuck.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I was wondering the entire time. I was like, please tell me that this entire episode is not going to be just shining a light on that and then be like, every TAS is this. It, like,
no.
Broad, like, to call back to last episode, like, broad stroking.
No, thankfully, that is not the case. In fact, out of all the different TASs that I had read about, I didn't find anything that relates to that. And I'll mention offhandedly that there are a couple of anarchist sort of like temporary autonomous zones that are more permanent that are in like Slovenia and Sweden, actually.
Okay.
That I can try and find more about in the show notes. I didn't really have time. Because like I said, I had to rewrite a lot of this.
Yeah, you're fine. So what are these zones?
Have you ever heard of a event called Burning Man?
Get out. Really?
Yeah. It's an event that has been held annually since 1986 in the Western United States. Except for this year. It was canceled because of COVID.
Right.
Yes. Since 1998, the event has been located at Black Rock City, a temporary city erected in the Black Rock Desert in the northwestern area of Nevada. The event is... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, so they just do an autonomous zone for Burning Man so they can get away with doing, copious amounts of psychedelics?
Well, it's more of the fact that they're not actively, like, pushing cops away or stuff like that. Think about it as like a rave. If you've ever like kind of understood how a rave operates, where they, especially here in Arizona, where there's a lot of open space where you can just go out into the desert and party your heart's content. And then, if it gets broken up by cops, it gets broken up by cops. But if it doesn't, then you can do whatever you want. That's the kind of vibe that I got from this, except for, well, kind of in this way. Let's see. The late summer event is an experiment in community and art influenced by 10 principles: radical inclusion, gifting, decommodification, radical self-reliance, radical self-expression, communal effort, civic responsibility, yada, yada, yada. The event derives its name from its culmination, the symbolic burning of a large wooden effigy, referred to as the Man, that occurs on the Saturday evening of the event. A little bit of history. It began as a bonfire ritual on the summer solstice in 1986 on Baker Beach in San Francisco, which I was not aware of. I always thought it occurred out in the desert, so that was a little cool information. In 1990, a separate event was planned out in the Nevada desert, where it has been hosted every year since. One of the founders conceived it as and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but a Dadaist? It's kind of like an art movement.
Like Dadaism?
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly like that.
What is Dadaism?
Shane might have a better understanding. The definition kind of escaped me there, but it's an art movement of sorts, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to waste time getting into that right now.
It's it's like a postmodernism where the something, I don't know.
I have an art major girlfriend listening to this who's going to chide us all, but, moving on.
Oof. Yeah. But he conceived it as a Dadaist temporary autonomous zone where participants build all the art, activities, and events. There were no paid or scheduled performers or artists, no separation between art space and living space, and no rules other than don't interfere with anyone else's immediate experience, and no guns in the central camp. And these expectations have continued to this day.
Okay.
So the other two I did not get enough information on, but they're more commonly recognized, especially given this last decade. Standing Rock, aka the take a drink, John. The Dakota Access Pipeline protests.
Okay.
So from, I guess, 4 years ago, when they were trying to build a pipeline out on essentially Native American soil. And they were having none of that, and a lot of people pretty much set up a temporary autonomous zone where their whole thing was to oppose the building and to obstruct them in any way, shape, or form.
Right on.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one that I really want to talk about, because, like I said, I had to change a lot of things. Occupy Wall Street was also considered.
Was it really?
The ones that were set up in various areas in the country were considered temporary autonomous zones, where essentially they were just protesting and occupying their little spaces there and kind of running it however they saw fit. So those are the kind of that when you picture a temporary autonomous zone, that's the sort of vibes that you should get. You either have on one side where it's, I wouldn't say debauchery per se, but it's a lot more of the free form sort of like express yourself however you are. Burning Man, or some people will refer to Woodstock also as a temporary autonomous zone. I can see that. I don't necessarily, because they tried to call in, they tried to get government help for like navigating, getting people, paying people, that sort of thing.
Oh, there's also zoning that had to happen for that and things like that. It's just a little bit different.
Exactly. But other people will call that a temporary autonomous zone, which is fine.
There may be like an inherent idea of lawlessness, at least functioning within that area, and that might be what they're referring to. I mean, any of the Occupy Wall Street areas as well, it's not as though the government ceased to exist in that state. It's just saying that in this place, temporary is a part of the title for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And then you have those on one hand, and on the other hand, you have the more politically protest-esque based or driven sort of temporary autonomous zones where people are trying to protest a certain thing, and instead of, okay, well, it's 6:00, it's time to head home, and then we'll see you all at 8 a.m. tomorrow, they're just staying there. And because a lot of people are staying there and actively protesting 24 hours a day, you have to set up some sort of like a zone of sorts where people can sleep, where people can rest, eat, drink, that sort of thing. Yes. So that is my originally history of the temporary autonomous zone, but now it's turned to, I almost called him Mr. Wilson again, Peter Lamborn Wilson, and how Taz's should be used, I guess, would be the best attempt at a working title.
Okay, well, I don't have any guesses on lies because I was paying attention. I
couldn't figure out anything in the list in particular to call out that rang disingenuous, but that's the one place that always springs up.
Which is, I actually went about today, this time, and did not put any lies in a list.
So you didn't swing at it.
All right, well, tell us how we failed, Michael.
So initially when I mentioned that the Chaz was disbanded by police mobilizing and retaking control of the area, that was a lie. I was so happy. Well, when I originally read that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to add this. I can lie here. It'll be very easy to slip this by. According to CNN, which is the source that I got it from, and I will continue to cite the source because media in these days is just biased as all hell, the main leaders have kind of said that the original message was lost after the several shootings that took place in the area in the last couple of days. People are starting to filter out, and there's talks of the police moving back into the building. So
okay,
or the precinct that they were chased out.
Essentially by attrition, they just sort of fell out.
Yes. The next one, the lie that it was thought that he got his money from stealing from the rich for Peter Wilson. I cannot actually find any sources on where he has his family trust fund, but the actual article that was written by Mr. Helms, he says in his article, the name Lamborn is rare in New York, and it is where the sugar industry magnate Odie Lamborn died in 1971. It is my impression that Hakim Bey's trust fund was originally earned by tormented laborers on sugar plantations. So that's speculation on his part, but given the almost paradoxical nature of this guy, or also considering that his anarchist beliefs are, to an end, and it's not an end that a lot of anarchists would typically agree with, I would be inclined to believe that. Okay? In the last one, when I mentioned that, for Burning Man, all the participants build the art, activities, events, no paid or scheduled performers or artists, no separation between art and living spaces, no rules. That I mentioned that it continued to this day. That's not the case at all. It's turned into a giant festival of sorts where influencers,
so it's Coachella in Nevada, basically.
It is pretty much that.
Okay.
Last year's tickets, the cheapest ones, were sold at $425. An article that I read cited the average expenditures of each participant to over $2,000. The event has also become a sort of networking event for billionaires and celebrities, many from the Silicon Valley and Hollywood. Elon Musk once said that Burning Man is Silicon Valley. So,
where they all go to vacation and party and let loose.
Yes.
Can I take a moment as a strange aside? Have any of you actually heard him speak?
Elon Musk?
Mm-hmm.
No, I've just seen quotations from interviews and quotations from Rogan.
If we were actually doing Disinformed After Dark, I would have done the whole him smoking, taking a hit from the Rogan podcast.
Yeah, I mean, that man strikes me as the least erudite and the worst spoken genius I have ever encountered. He sounds like a moron. Anytime that I have heard him speak in expository fashion, he is in a constant state of well, I mean, it's if you get so it's like anytime I've caught there's no cohesion at all, and it seems like he's just rambling and jabbering, particularly when he was talking about the idea that they were depriving people of their natural rights by saying that we had to be quarantined and how that was a violation. He was the least erudite individual explaining his rationale as to why rights were being violated. It's just the idea, we should all be able to go out there and endanger ourselves.
Except for me, because I'll be on my
I'll be on the Mars, basically floating out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it rings me as somewhat disingenuous as someone who everyone has hailed as being this wunderkind,
savior,
brilliant genius, and I was like, he sounds like a dope.
I kind of lost faith with him after the whole event where there were those kids that were stuck in the cave that had to be rescued by divers. And he wanted to use his submersible or something like that, and one of the divers said no, that was a bad idea. It could just break down in there, and Elon Musk called the diver a pedophile. So I was like, what? Okay, that was it happened 2 years ago or something like that. I can show you it after recording, but essentially during this whole rescue thing, he was trying to brandish his new technology or something like that. I've built a submersible that can save these children, and the divers are like, just let us do it.
Yeah.
You'll just get in the way. And
we're ready to go right now.
Yeah, and Elon Musk was like, I think you hired a couple of prostitutes that were small boys. Essentially,
no, we're trying to save people's lives. We're not trying to throw up a billboard for your brand new invention so that you can tout yourself to the general public here through your good works. Anyway, I'm not trying to get slanderous. It's just I found it funny, and I've not really encountered him at all. I hear the name bandied around, but I've never seen any major publications. I've never seen him speak at length, so that was my only exposure.
Yeah, interesting.
That was when I fell off the wagon for him. That's why I brought it up.
Well, and it's the same thing with my encounter with Neil deGrasse Tyson through Rogan. Really kind of turned me off to him as well. And in looking back on it now, I can understand that it's difficult if you're going to be a scientist, who's trying to curry favor and get attention. Obviously, you want to have a wealth of personality and be charismatic and kind of engaging. But at the same time, being black, I imagine there are a lot of people who are going to be more than happy to just shout him down on principle because they're going like, "Oh, come on,
Fair.
You're not intelligent. Just look at you," which just the state that we're seeing these days more frequently than not. Unfortunately, that divided line still exists. So I can understand being a little bit more acerbic and trying to overstate things because your enthusiasm or you get a little carried away in the moment and just kind of, but yeah, it's difficult when you're hectoring to somebody for 40 minutes to an hour.
I will also add, because I've seen this a lot in the last, I guess, this year, really, there's a lot more anti-intellectualism, because when you were mentioning him, I immediately thought of Carl Sagan, who he was the last major physicist that was in the public eye of sorts. And I was like, well, he's no Carl Sagan. And then I thought about it and I'm like, well, he's dealing with a lot of different times.
Yeah.
The anti-intellectualism in this country is just absolutely abhorrent.
Right.
As just hearing people saying well, I'm not going to wear a mask. It's like, did you read that? If both people wear a mask, it cuts down transmission to 1% chance. It's are you those people that will go around saying, I don't need to wear a condom, I'll just pull out? And I'm like, wait, it hasn't fallen off for you yet, John, so you don't need to worry about it. But then I realized that happens a lot because we don't have adequate sex education in this country. So I'm like, you know what? I was going to ask that question, but now I'm not.
Yeah, there is this idea that there's kind of an elitism between the quote-unquote educated or those who have received higher education to those who have not. And so it just becomes an us versus them mentality, which is really strange, particularly when it comes to things that, and this turns into another debate about scientific principles versus religion and how the two of those seem to be almost fundamentally juxtaposed at this point in some people's minds. And I don't think you can really coach that back, unfortunately. It's just the prejudices are something that we are seeing almost innumerably these days, and everyone seems to lead into them. We talked about biases and microaggressions and all these things pretty routinely, particularly in our employment. I'm sure you've encountered this from time to time as well, Michael. So it's difficult.
I had to watch those videos on the website.
It just, again, a little civility and treating people with actual genuine respect and interest tends to be a really easy way to get around most of these things. But it's those folks who are hyper-focused. As an interesting talking point, and not to totally derail, but this happened in front of me, and this is one of the reasons why I find I have a bit of a bias presently. But there was a conversation going on relative to the university, and they were talking about one of my colleagues who was putting it forth was talking in praise of this idea that we have a lot of gender-neutral bathrooms. And that was what was thrown out, essentially, in the point of the conversation. And someone came out of another room, walked down, like a 20-foot thing, and interjected into the conversation and said, I just want to make a point to tell you that it's not gender-neutral bathrooms, they're gender-inclusive bathrooms. And then turned and walked right back out. So someone who was not taking part in the conversation, and it wasn't as though he was disparaging it or saying it in a snide way. And it's like, okay, so the verbiage now has gotten to a point where it is that important for you to emphasize the minutia that exists between neutral and inclusive. And that is where we're going to die. That's the hill we're going to walk to.
I was going to say, I think a lot... it's difficult because people go about it the wrong way, and that's what you're bringing up, where if that's a teachable moment,
yes,
right? If that's a moment where you can that's not a situation where anybody needs to be publicly put on blast. That's a situation where after the fact, when it's appropriate or when it lines up, within the same day, just pulling aside and be like, hey, I heard you saying this through the conversation. Wasn't my place to interject into the conversation and say it,
right.
But how we prefer that being said is X. And
right.
That way it's constructive. And
yes.
It's not reductive. Which to your point, it's coming out that way, that's where divides start, because then now you are now you have a negative experience with the verbiage.
And you're also you're attacking someone who is on your side already.
Trying to be inclusive.
Yeah.
Yes, you're snipping the support just at its roots, as the old preaching to the choir line of this person's already on your side. You don't need to alienate them further or, ruin it. And it just, in an instance like that, where the difference between those two terms to me is not one that I feel carries like a really heavy negative connotation. I don't think that neutrality to me is one where it cries out to me that it's going to hurt somebody's feelings. Whereas the difference between referring to someone as the N-word or African American or black, there are very distinct gradients of negativity there that you would want to dispel in a conversation about empowerment or disempowerment. It's like that. Those are the terms that you're going to get upset about.
Right.
Or one of my colleagues who I pointed out, we had things that in our own listed collection were foreign films and were labeled as such, and she made a point of beelining back into my office and correcting me and saying that we refer to those as international feature films. Those aren't foreign films. And even then, I will go, okay, I understand what you mean. There is a sense of separatism there that we're trying to get away from, and we don't. But it's like in the course of a context of a conversation, it becomes more didactic than it became what you were referring to as a teachable moment where you can actually just discuss it. And
the context here matters,
and tact in particular in a lot of those instances. Sorry, didn't mean to derail, but it's happening so frequently these days, and it's the war now that we have between sensitivity and understanding, and then to this weird sort of overly PC nitpicky culture that we have to try to juggle, and it's a really difficult balancing act.
Yeah, 100%.
And here's white guys complaining about it. Sorry.
I was going to say, I have nothing else really to add on to it. I mean, you hit it on the head there, and I think all that we can do as cisgendered,
heteronormative
white men is to be people that, to correct in a teachable way, to actually kind of just, I mean, it's just basic human beings, just treat everyone the way that we would expect to be treated, and really just hold your ground on those beliefs that you hold dear, and be prepared to explain why, if you're confronted with a differing opinion. I don't think it's constructive anymore just to be like, well, fuck you, you're stupid. Fuck, you don't agree with me? Oh, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
That it's not constructive anymore. It's schoolyard pettiness at that point. And so if you are going to hard stance on something, you have to, especially now, be prepared to stand your ground and to really throw facts and to have them and to be educated on it enough where you can. And it's something that I'm very envious of other people that I've seen who are really involved with the movements right now, where I don't have those facts attached to memory. All the most that I can do right now is pass along and read what comes my way. And understanding that everyone has a role, and there's anyway, not soapboxing it, but I wouldn't apologize for bringing up the topic. I think it was worthwhile.
I think we're all just trying to find our own way out of the, dimly lit room at this point. There's none of us that have a clear path that, I know exactly where we're headed. I think you're going to bump into things from time to time. None of us are going to walk out of this perfectly. So you just got to try to handle yourself with a little understanding, a considerable amount of empathy, and just kind of be willing to roll with the criticism and the learning moments when we have them.
And just to use this naturally, you were mentioning independent films, foreign films, and I do believe that we are in the process of reading through the script of one. And
I would love to turn this into a movie.
Oh, you're the one.
So Shane is usually the one that does the intros. He's going to do a previously on, but I feel like there's something that's been missing. And that is a break in the episode where we tell you that the back half, and Michael, you can tell me when we started, but it doesn't have to be now. The back half of these episodes, we have been essentially creating the audiobook for the fanfic My Immortal, which is essentially if a gothic 13-year-old hate fucked the original transcripts for Harry Potter but then also forgot. It's like she slowly learned how to write. Like she was in the process of actively unlearning everything she learned in English class.
It's also like someone who is just chronically addicted to methamphetamines attempting to tell you a straight narrative.
Yeah, so Michael, this came out when? 20... Or not 20.
2006.
Okay, so
2006.
2006. It's very much a product of its time. I think we have seen a My Chemical Romance reference in almost every single... Shane, did you spill your soda again?
No. A cockroach just ran up my leg.
Oh.
Speak of the devil, and it shall appear.
The joys of living in an environment that has basically been ceded back to... I record these things in my office at work, and for those of you who are not aware, as I'm trying to provide the solid landline here for us to get our material recorded. And yes, so as I'm sitting here, I feel something as like a tickle, like my shoelace had kind of, crawled up my ankle, and then it proceeded up my... top of my calf, and I'm like, oh, that's a cockroach.
Okay, so that explains everything that I saw on your face, and I respect you even more, because if that would have happened to me, I would have probably kicked everything in my immediate vicinity, spilled my beer, disconnected the computer, and I would have had to relog in. So, good job.
I would have screamed like a bitch, probably fallen over, hit my head, been lying there bleeding out, maybe on camera, who knows?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to actively kill this with my feet.
So while Shane continues his battle with Papa Roach,
this is my last resort, unfortunately. So.
I think this is the first time that we've had a proper intro for the reading since the first time we did it, and I feel like it's something that I should actively try to remember to do beforehand, because poor people, like if this is the first episode they ever listen to and then you end on this, it's very jarring. Very
fair.
Jarring.
No, that's that's a good point. That's a very good point. I appreciate you for doing that.
Also, people should have the option to realize that the official episode kind of ends at the beginning of these readings. So this is like a little like extra credit. If you want some silliness, and we're just doing cold reads essentially of this material. So if you hang up now, we're not going to be mad at you. But to Shane's point, come see us at Disinformed After Dark on YouTube. Or if you are, I was going to quote you for a second. If you are prepared to suffer the consequences of your actions. Is that what you say in your voicemail, Shane?
Oh, I mean, it's possible.
Anyway.
I thought you were going to start giving our social media.
Only one of us on this podcast has any experience with voice acting, and that is Shane, because he has a golden voice. The
flattery will get you everywhere, my friend.
But Michael and myself, we have a face for neither film or radio.
What does your face have to do with any of this, John?
I'm saying that we're never going to be actors. We're never going to be actors in any way, shape, or form.
No, I like what you were going to say. We don't have a face for film
voices,
or for audio.
For audio.
Okay, I can go with it.
So bless your heart for listening to it.
Can I ask? This feels like that prelude stems from something. So who did you have a conversation with that said that they hated this portion of the episodes and wish we would stop?
Not a single person. It's been in the back of my head, and I just keep forgetting to intro it. And then,
because I would say, not to cut you off, my apologies. This seems to be one of, if not the single most popular aspect of the episodes, based on individuals that I've gotten feedback from. This seems to be what everyone's thrilled with these days. So.
I feel like I'm starting to that I wanted to start introing it because I feel the same way. Where like I'll end recording and I'll talk to Becky and I'll be like, I feel like this is the thing that the podcast was accidentally made for, and that once we get the compendium, that it's gonna be like those guys over this blah insert number episode arc. Did these cold reads, and then we have the culmination of it. So I just kind of want to start, like, if you're coming in now, like, there's a lot more material, and we do read the chapter numbers and yada yada yada. But no, this wasn't from negative feedback. This is just more I forget every week, and I've remembered for the first time. And birds
it's
aren't
good
real.
Housekeeping. Yes.
Yeah, I like it. No, I do like it.
And yes.
And I appreciate that you're taking priority, or you're
Initiative?
taking thank you. That's the word.
Yeah.
I don't know initiative. I never take it. You're taking initiative and doing that in the future as well.
Shane, have you killed Papa Roach?
No, I have not. Which I'm hesitant. I'm almost at a point now where I'm contemplating just asking for a brief reprieve so I can beat the hell out of this thing with a ruler, and then return where I don't have to keep staring underneath my desk.
I could handle a pee
We can
break
cut-
and getting a beer. So if you need to
Okay,
kill it,
let's,
we can cut-
we'll do our usual, pre My Immortal break here so I can kill this fucking thing.
all right, cool. But
Yeah.
this
The
stays in the
scars
episode.
will remind you
Oh, yes.
the past is real.
We're going to smoke a roach here. Hold on.
He will be getting away with murder.
Fa la 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 la. Come here, you little bastard. After I bludgeoned it, she loves me not.
Oh my
There's
god,
a
I
fun-
forgot about that fucking song.
There is a really lovely Easter egg that you're going to be able to include back in the episode of me. Actually, you may be able to hear me beating the hell out of that thing with this ruler. So, I hope.
Oh, beautiful. I might actually do that. But
See
that
if
would
you
be
can
great
cut
if
it
I
in
did
at
hear
the
that.
end of it, and you can get me going, come here, you little bastard.
Did
We'll
you
be
actually
like,
say that?
Yes.
Cut. Come here, you little bastard. Cruh, cruh, cruh.
Yes, there is.
And we're back.
Craw.
Beautiful.
All right.
Scrap!
Oh no, we're already in. We're already in. You don't need to clip.
I don't need the
Little
clip.
did you know, John, that you would be able to meet an enemy that would beat you on any battlefield.
I need to
get the
I
reference.
need to rewatch
but
that
I'm
so bad.
Is this how you thought this day would go? We'll show you the video before we go to After Dark, Michael, just so you can appreciate it.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
All right, so back into this nasty bit of nonsense with a previously on My Immortal. Chapter 22, we encountered the Magical Misery Tour. Clothing, as always, is excruciatingly described. Cordelia Fugue and Scumbridge accost Dumbledore and tell him that his Alzheimer's is endangering the lives of students at Hogwarts, and he must retry, as he is obviously not a match for the Bark Lord. He's apparently a man who sells chocolates at the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory in a strip mall somewhere. Fumbledore then corrects them by asserting that there is someone skilled enough to kill the nascent nasal assassin, known as Voldemort. Gasp! Our perfect, flawless, and scrumtrelescent Inani. Too many names to waste time fully listing. I swear to she apparently took one bit of, interest from Game of Thrones and decided to give her, 17 names. Mother frickin' fashion, apparently. The mother of all fashions.
First of her name.
Indeed. So, chapter 23 then sees a gaggle of the Hogwarts goth contingent stumble into a relocated argument between the Menstry mates and Humbledore. Ebony eats some Count Chocula, like you do. Nonsense conversation occurs until a bizarre grade school skirmish breaks out between Vampire and Draco over who gets to shit next to Ebony. During the scrum, the Right Honorable Colonel Vlad T. Mort breaks through a window and orders Vampire's death, lest he kill both she and Draco to punish her failure. They bicker back and forth, naturally. Voldemort then just flies away, and then Ebony has some odd gothic trance and sees Draco slitting his wrists while Darth Voldemort goes to kill him. So he doesn't need to kill him. Draco's been trying to kill himself since the beginning of this book.
Right.
It still has not happened. Apparently, he's just the face of Bo. He is going to endure forever until that last, terrible moment at the end of the universe. Sexy screaming follows. B. Diddy Mary suggests Ebony visits Professor Sinister to try and interpret her dreams and visions. Chapter 24 then introduces Dr. and Mrs. Professor Sinister, a young goth professor who speaks Japanese and kicks out an entire class at Ebony's whim to have a conversation about her wet dreams. Preps are punished. Sinister has Ebony stare into a cryptal ball wherein she sees a black gothic skull and a pentagram. Draco then interrupts the session, and rather than finding anything to do with what, occurred in the vision ball, Sinister simply tells Ebony to fuck off, cunt, and there's absolutely no elucidation of the visions in the slightest. Ebony then goes to Draco, who is sitting next to Vampire. Inanni is exhibited. And this is where we resume our scene.
And we'll go ahead and add a producer's note that we decided that Sinister's voice will be changing.
That was my clever way of reminding you via, the Dr. Mrs. Professor Sinister there. So.
Yeah, so originally she was... Yeah, you did. I saw it. Originally monotoned and unperturbed by anything in life. It will now be played by Dr. Girlfriend a la Venture Brothers.
As most of our voice acting seems to stem from at this point. Oh, gentlemen, are we ready to deflower this nasty little bit of business?
Oh, let's do it.
Give it to me.
Chapter. Well, hold on. I'm sorry. I should start in with the appropriate full introduction. Welcome back to My Immortal, as performed by the cast of the Disinformed podcast. Chapter 25. I was so excited. I followed Draco, wondering if we were going to do it again. We went outside, and then we went into Draco Black Car.
Ebony, what the fuck did Professor Cavalli say?
Whispered Draco, potting his gothic wit hand with black nail polish on mine.
She said she would tell me what the visions meant. Toralmo,
I grumbled in a sexy voice. He took out a heroin cabaret and spiked it, and gave it to me to spork. He started to fly the car into a tree. We went to the top of it. Draco put on some MCR.
So you put a note for copyrighted musical lyrics? What's the song that they're listening to? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Just Helena.
Probably probably fucking Helena.
Yeah.
Sang Gerard's sexy voice. We started tilling of each other's clothes fervently. He took of my black thong and my black leather bar. I took of his black boxers. Then he put his throbbing you-know-what in my tool, sexily.
OMFG Draco! Draco!
I screamed, having an orgasm. We stated Frenching passively. Suddenly, I fell asleep. I started having a dream. In it, a black guy was shooting two gothic men with long black hair. No! Please don't fucking kill us! One. They pleaded, but he just kept shooting them. He ran away in a red car.
No! Oh my fucking god! One.
I shouted in a scared voice.
Ebony, what's wrong?
Draco asked me as I woke up, opening my icy blue eyes. I started to cry, and tears of blood went down my face. I told Draco to call Vampire. He did it with his Blake Lickin' Park Mobile. But, that's a 2T butt, kids. But the worst thing was who the people who were shot in the dream where Lucian and Sirius. One.
I love that we unanimously decided to read off the accidental non-exclamatories.
It gets me every time I edit. I literally lose my shit every time.
So the funny thing is I finally showed Melissa the script, and she didn't understand how absolutely awful this was, and she's like, oh, okay. So it's like, yes, when we say one, there's a one there, so that's what we're reading.
Yeah, so for the listeners, Shane is a god amongst men while reading this, because he has the most lines and the most voice time, which is how it should be. So when you hear what sounds like over pronunciation and mispronunciation, it is 100% on purpose to try and convey, because Michael has adapted this into a script from the original fanfic itself. So it is a labor to read. As much as it's a labor to consume, it is a labor to read aloud.
It is absolutely awash with misspellings. A lot of them are very comedic when you see them in print as a visual thing, but we're not necessarily going to be able to convey that very well unless we overemphasize.
Continues the ongoing debate that we've had from day one of, is this satire? Is this like intentionally bad? And still, I have been this camp the entire time, and I will stay there. This is intentional. This is 100% intentional.
Yes, I'm gonna side up on the idea that this has to be some, whether it functions appropriately or not. Yeah, this is it, completely sarcastically written. It's not necessarily the best storytelling, but I think that's also probably intentional as well. Anyway.
Right, you have to give it all. So anyway,
yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to throw that.
It's important to contextualize. We'll call this the explanatory all apologies episode.
Yes.
All right. Chapter 26. A few mutates later, Vampire came to the tree. He was wearing a black leather Jackson, black leather pants, and a good Kralotti t-shirt.
Hi, Vampire,
I said flirtily as I started to sob. Draco hugged me sexily, triumphant to comfort me. I started to cry tears of blood, and then told them what happened.
Oh, fuck it,
Vampire shouted angrily. He, started to cry sadly.
What fucking dick did that?
I don't know. Now come on, we have to tell Dumbledore, I said.
We ran out of the tree and into the castle. Dumbledore was sitting in his office.
Sire, our dad was shot,
Draco said. Or more, Draco slurped, while we whipped some tears from his white face.
And I had a vivid dream.
Doom bit. Double odor. Yes, we'll go that. Double odor started to cockle.
And how do you expect me to know Ebony's not divisional?
I glared at Dumbledore.
Look, motherfucker,
he said.
Parenthetical context says it's Ebony, so I'm going with Ebony.
Angrily, as Dumbledore gasped, "C is da toot of crackter." Which is essentially C, is that out of character, for those that need
to.
Jesus Christ, I didn't know.
You're like a fucking wizard.
Oh
no,
God,
this is
man.
how scared I have finally reached at this point that this
know?
makes sense to me after having read these enough. Oh, God. Okay.
Wow. Whew. You know very well I'm not decisional. Now get some fucking people out there to look for Ceres and Lucian porn too.
Okay,
he said in a intimated voice.
Where are they?
I thought about it. Then, all of a sudden,
Longden,
I said. I told him which street. He went and called some people and did some stuff. After a few mistunes, he came back and said people were going out looking for them. After a while, someone called him again. He said that they had been found. Draco, Vampire, and I all left our rooms together. I went with Draco to wait in the nurse's office, while Vampire went to slit his wrists in his room. We looked at each other's gothic, erased eyes. Then we kissed. Suddenly, Sirius and Lucian came in on stretchers, and Professor Sinister was behind them. One. Oh, and now Chapter 27 in all its mythical and magical glory with the heading, Vampires Will Never Hurt You. And the will is a W-I-L. So apparently, Will, you're safe. You'll be fine from this point forward.
Well, I am.
Ooh. About to get some
Yeah.
food. Well, I mean, I prefer the Fugees to the Black Eyed Peas, but we'll just.
Well, yeah, whatever you want.
Oh, I was here thinking like, oh, look at my musical reference, and you're like, oh yeah, his previous band that I had no idea about. I'm like,
Do you
well,
want me
shit.
to read the script writer's note?
yeah, if you want.
Shane, do you
Oh,
care?
please.
It's your character, so you might as well.
Okay, so there's a
gives
script
the audience
writer's-
more context.
Yeah, scriptwriter's note. I mentioned previously that Professor Sinister is a combination of professors, but I wasn't sure who. It is Professor Sinistra, Astronomy, and Professor Trelawney, Divination.
I had to look that up because I had no idea. I remember when I originally read it that there were 2 professors, and I'm like, I don't know. I had to look up the roster of professors at Hogwarts.
I also pointed out that in my chuckles that you've been very diligent about actually putting the correct character's name with most people where you can. So essentially that if you have Draco, it's Draco, in spite of all the misspellings or mispronunciations. Your primary flaw, however, is when we were doing the Ministry of Magic, they referred to her as Doris Rumbridge as opposed to Dolores Umbridge, and you wrote it as Doris Umbridge for the remainder of the chapter.
Oh, no.
So I was cracking up reading through it because, like, he's not holding up, and then underneath it was still Cornelius Fudge as opposed to Cornelia.
That's pretty great.
So, yeah, I had a
Damn.
nice chuckle at your expense at Doris
darn it.
lasting, but okay. Chapter 27. Everyone in the room stated to cry happily. I had saved them. Draco, Lucian, Sirius, Bond, Vampire, all came to hug me. The nurse started to give them medicine.
Come on, Anobi.
Said Professor Sinatra. She was wearing a gothic black leader dress with a corset top and real vampire blood on it, and fucking black platinum boots.
I have to tell you the fucking perdition.
I locked at Lucian, Seraphs, Drake, and Vampire. They nodded. I smelled happily and went into a dark room. I had changed Professor Sinister, took out some black cards. She started to look into a black crucible ball. She said,
Tara, I see Drake times are near.
She used to call me on my cell phone. She said, badly. She peered into da balls.
You see, you must go back in time.
She took out a time toner, like B. Bloody Mary had.
When Voldemort was in Hogwarts, before he became powerful, he got his heart broken. Now, do you think he would still look smart if he was in love?
I shook my head.
You must go back in time and seduce him. It is the only way. If he is still evil, then you must kill him. You could come to my room tomorrow and you can do it.
Okay.
I said sadly. We did death's took sin. I went outside again sadly.
What fucking happened?
Asked Draco and Vampire. Yeah. What happened?
You're Willow, John.
I don't remember my Willow voice.
Just make something up. It doesn't
All
matter.
right, cool. I'll
She's
do
not
it
an
for
important
Lucius.
character.
Ready? You want to take that again?
Yep.
Yeah,
what happened? Asked Darkness, Willow, and Boldy Mary. I was about to them, but everyone was there. They were celebrating Lucian and Sirius being fond. Everyone was proud of me, but I wanted to talk to Draco. They were cheesing my name, and some reporters were there, trying to interview Dumbledore. A banner was put up. Lots of fucking preps were there, obviously trying to be gothic, wearing the HM sign on their hands, despite them not having Ask Shelley heard of him. Even Mr. Norris looked happy. A Blake and red cake had been brought out. Crab and Goyle set up some fireworks in the shape of skulls from Wesley's Wizard Wises. I put on my invisibility cloak with a vampire and Draco, and we sneaked out together.
And that is all for the reading this week.
I hope you're ready because for the second half of the story, because that is the plot hook into it.
Well, if this was any indication,
We must go back in time.
Where have all the cliffhangers gone, Michael? Because I feel like she really was reeling us in over the course of the first 15, 16 chapters, and now it's just wet farts at the end of every
I'm just
one of these
convinced that
chapters.
she's an anime fan.
What do you mean?
Because every anime
What?
has 50 episodes and like 17 different arcs that are all like based on cliffhangers. Like, that's all that's carrying the story. And that's all this is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, considering that each one of these chapters was posted separately, one would assume that you would put a cliffhanger to kind of tie to get people to come back the next week.
I just enjoy that, okay, well, they just sneaked out.
Yeah, and fuck it. That
It
was
an
it.
invisibility coke. Yeah.
It was a line of
They snorted it.
invisibility. Just snort it, yeah.
Yeah, like you do.
Like the heroin cabaret earlier.
All right, well, we have the debut of Professor Sinistra. The official debut.
Yeah.
Yes, Professor Sinestro.
Sinestro.
For all you Green Lantern fans out there.
Telling Ebony that she's got to go back in time and fuck Voldemort.
Oh, don't you just wish you were love?
It was seduce him, thank you.
Sorry, you're right.
And I have
you're
to
right.
look into
Seduce.
fucking perdition. Which
Yeah.
is accidentally.
I gotta tell you the fucking perdition.
Oh, guys.
Oh, man, I gotta tell you, this thing is starting to kill my brain cells at a much
Just
more rapid
now?
rate. Yes.
Oh, especially when she goes back in time,
I think
you won't know which way is up.
I already don't.
I wrote those chapters earlier today, and there's also a giant quote, sex or like not safe for life chapter. Actually, that's what I wrote it as a scriptwriter's note. There's a not safe for life chapter.
I mean, we ambled up to a really indelicate, there was and I'm cribbing from the story here, there's just a black man shooting two people with a gun again. You're
I
like, whoa.
never thought about that before, but when you said that out loud, I was like, oh, that
Yeah, it doesn't age
problematic.
well, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to interpret that because I have the title Tara apologist, that it was a dark robed man and she just forgot to write robed. I mean, considering how forward she is with homosexuality, and that bi goth guys
She
are really
does
hot,
enjoy bi guys.
especially when they make out. So I'm gonna assume that she is forward thinking on that, on the racism, thing, and is not saying that it is a person of color.
All right, well, you did your level best to take a swing at that, my friend.
Well,
but
good.
apparently
I fucking tried.
she's joining the golf club over at the Best Buy Guys. So,
By guys and thick thighs. That's all she's into.
oh yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna happen. I hope
Well,
you guys are ready.
Guys,
Ready.
do you have anything else?
I
Kill
mean,
me. No.
I think we've had Disinformed After Dark, prior to this coming out, so I can't give teasers at this point. You've already heard what is going to transpire. But in case you are a devout podcast listener and you have not taken the time to float on over to YouTube and check us out there, please do. Every Friday, 10 a.m., we are dropping brand new short video podcasts, between a 15 to 30 minute interval, and they're fun. We're having a good time. We do some
Oh, yeah.
hypotheticals. We wrap up with a little postscript from the show and have some other things. And I will say in parting, something I was considering bringing up, but we lost Ian Holm this week, gentlemen.
I did see that. I was very sad.
I made a point. Well, it was technically, I think it was last week, but I watched Alien in his honor. I didn't have the time to go through all the Lord of the Rings if I wanted to celebrate.
Right.
That's fair.
You know, you could throw on Garden State, but I mean, you basically only watching 10 minutes of the movie at that point. So
it's usually how much I watch. A good way.
It's reasonable. I'm your new friend Sam. That is the film that Miss Sam and I actually bonded over. We were in bondage when we first started hanging out together.
It has an amazing soundtrack.
Goodness.
It certainly does. Yes.
Is it all MCR and GC?
No, it introduced me to
Helena?
the Shins.
Yes, the Shins are fantastic on that. They have a lot of it's very, very.
Were they
good
doing
stuff.
a cover of Helena?
Yeah,
that's the only song I know was Helena. So
I think we might actually be able to drive that out. Coincidentally, funnily enough, to show what a random non-hipster I am, I've never heard that song.
Helena?
Yes, I have never heard that song.
I mean, I've probably heard. No, I heard it on the radio the other day because I heard it. My car said what the title was, and I laughed my ass off because I'm like, we've been talking about this a lot in the episode.
Okay.
That's what this song is.
I am going to give a teaser then for our After Dark episode. You are going to listen to the first minute and a half of Helena. We're going to listen to it together as a team. But it doesn't have, like, the audio is not going to be shared, but we're just going to get your initial reactions to it just to rip that band off because I'm sure that you've accidentally heard it before.
I don't listen to the radio, my friend. You forget that I really make a dedicated effort to control everything airwave related that goes into this little cranium of mine.
Well,
but we'll see.
I think it's time to end this because I need you to hear this song because I do authentically enjoy it.
And everyone does. You know, it's the folks that love MCR rave about it. It just so happens that I strolled in at the wrong time for the disco.
Yeah, you weren't ready for it yet.
No one was dancing, so...
Well, when you started off by just seeing Helena in this, like, context, like, it could turn any person off.
Well, and also...
Until you actually hear it.
It can't get any worse right now.
Fair.
Well, I believe that is going to wrap it up in a glorious, vengeful street taco, as per usual.
Vengeful.
Yes, beef.
Tasty.
So, thank you all for listening. We sincerely appreciate having you here every single week, and now 47 episodes strong. It's been a glorious, or is it 46 this time or 47? I thought it was 47.
46.
Is it 46? Okay.
I
Something.
think.
Listen, we're time traveling
Oh,
here.
my
We
goodness.
just traveled through
I
time
can't
for the
open
other
it.
nonsense. So, I mean, we're doing what we can.
It is 46.
All right, fine. Fuck me. I misspoke.
I like correcting you in the moment, so
Well.
I don't have to make an author's note for later.
If I did that with you, Michael, we'd never finish this fucking thing.
Episode 1, and I'm...
All right. Well, ladies and germaphobes, we appreciate you being here. So for the motherfucking Disinformed podcast, I am Shane.
I'm John.
and I'm Michael.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Thank you for coming, kids. Don't worry. Michael and his sloppy bitch mouth will clean it up.